So I promised I will not cry. I'm going to really try not to cry. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for your support, your commitment, your calls, and just really being a part of this journey. If you would have asked me if I would have been here 5 years ago, I would have said no. What do you mean? This is not, I just wouldn't be here. I want to share, though, just a little bit about how I got here. 4.5 years ago, I was working at a county office of education. I saw this job posting, and this is what I knew. I knew that I was a straight A student up until 8th grade. I knew that I left high school at 10th grade. I did not graduate high school. I ended up getting my GED because I found myself pregnant as a teenager. There was nobody, I don't remember in high school, anybody calling me aside or asking how I was or taking notice of me. And so I slipped through the cracks. And because of that, I knew that I had a calling to help young people. And so I spent my life doing that. Thankfully, I wound up at a community college where I now have the honor and privilege to teach. And a counselor at the community college took notice in me. And I like to say that they breathed life into me. When I said that I couldn't do it, they said, oh, no, you can do it. When I said, I am just here because I want financial aid, and this is how and what's going to help pay my bills, they said, okay, you could do that for a time being, but you're going to graduate and you're going to go get your bachelor's. I said, no, I'm not. Went and got my bachelor's. They said, now you're going to go get your master's. I said, no, I'm not. I went and got my master's. I'm still in contact with that counselor, and so when I saw this position become available, it, for me, was a calling to come back home because I wanted to make sure that young women and men, especially of color, knew that they had a place in this world and that they had something to provide and to give. So when I wound up at Visions in Education and I shared a little bit about my history with my team, I remember this very clearly. I remember that excitement in their eyes when I first walked in, and then I started telling them about who I was, and I saw just this look of disappointment. Why is she not a school counselor? What is she doing here? How is she going to know how to lead this program? You know, we have this direction. This is where we're going to go. And it was at that moment that I was like, oh, am I in the right place? And I know, though, that when I am uncomfortable, that I am most definitely in the right place. Yes. When we are uncomfortable, that is when we grow the most. So I was transitioning into this position without a lot of context. I felt a lot of responsibility for the counselors that I was going to be leading and for the students and the families that were depending, right, on myself and my team to be successful so that they could have success in school and outside of school. And so I had a couple of choices, right? One of those choices is that I could lead through fear. And there were times where at night I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. This is Melissa. Why am I doing this? Or I could lead with curiosity. And so I chose to be curious. And I chose to lead in. I chose to really lean into my why. And so I started doing a couple of things as a leader, and I'm going to share, this is hard as a leader, to ask questions, right? Because oftentimes there is this idea that you are a leader, so you should know everything, you should have all of the answers. And I'm going to say it, especially as women, we have to sit up here and we have to be strong, and we have to take on I like to say, the weight of the world, and we have to sometimes pretend, right, that we know what we are doing, and it can be very scary to ask questions. So I set that aside, and I always want to be true to myself. And so I started reading, I started listening to hear, I started asking questions, I started coming to this conference. This is my 3rd year here. I'm probably going to come every single year because it's so incredibly important. I started really digging into the work with hatchings. I started grounding myself in the ASCA, national model and framework. because I was really, really seeking to understand, because everyone had said this comprehensive school counseling program, if you do this, this is what you're going to get. And I had not been in a position that had a roadmap that said, we will guarantee you success. How does that even work? But I'm going to trust because I liked Melissa. Got to work with Ebony too. I liked Ebony too. So I was like, I'm going to trust these people. And so I really sought out that consultation and that mentorship. I wanted to normalize help seeking as a leadership strength, right? I wanted to model that for my team. And so a couple of other things was that first year, some of the counselors were kind of warming up to me. Not yet though, but I took a step back and I could kind of see which ones might be opening the door for me a little bit. And so I really wanted to first build some relationships with them because I had to understand their journey, right? I had to understand what is it that they had been through, what is it that they had needed, what was their vision, because what I was doing had to align to what they were doing. So that first year and into the second year is all about relationship building. I knew that if we had to get to where we are going, that had to be the foundation. And for me, relationships are everything. And that it was really about me being vulnerable and admitting, you're right, I'm not a school counselor. And though, I'm curious about your work, and I know that your work impacts the lives of our students, and I want to be a part of that. And so I built a place of safety and trust and communication. I shared with them that we are going to do this together. I will be the driver, but I need you guys on board with me. I don't know where I'm going all of the time. I need you guys to tell me I'm going to trust in you. And again, just really listening before leading. And so once we started really building those relationships among our team, it was about building our relationships with the other departments. Because as we know, it is not my student, it is our student. And everyone in the building has a collective responsibility to support our kids. So we started to build those relationships. Second, third year was really about aligning our systems, right? Being able to tell our story of who we are as a counseling program because we needed everybody else in the building to buy into us. And what happened at this point as we started to look at our systems, the counselors started to buy into me. And that's where our work really, really began. Somebody said 3 to 5 years. It has taken us 3 to 5 years. One of the things that I learned is that you have to go slow to go fast. You have to, as a leader, you have to make sure that your team is with you or you will leave them behind. Because I like to move quick. And someone said, Mariah, sometimes you move so quick that you lost your people. And so it was about moving, kind of checking one thing off as we went along and, moved through this roadmap of building a comprehensive school counseling program. And then we started moving from reactive to intentional. We started really aligning data to our services, and we were able to start measuring for impact, and we were putting our time and energy in the right place. And then as for myself, I think something that I learned from myself, especially in a non-seat-based setting, is there was some comments, and even from myself and I think from the greater organization of how do we do this in a non-seat-based setting? Well, you can do this in any setting, you just have to be creative. So for me as a leader, it was about setting very high expectations because it was never about, are we going to do this? It was always about, we will do this. We will figure out a way to do this for our kids. And so when we set high expectations with deep care for our team, we all start to move together. And we all have bought into this, that we could do this collectively. And so leading with compassion, understanding who your audience is, understanding the needs of your community, of your setting, and as well as the needs of your team. What have I learned? Gosh, I have learned so, I have been humbled in these past 4.5 years. What have I learned? I don't have to know everything to learn well. I have experts. I have 15 experts on my team, right? We all bring something different to the table. And I think as leaders, right, like that's what we have to pull out, like that expertise of our team. We have, I'm not great at data. But we have 2 counselors that are great at data. We have, each one of our counselors plays such an important role, and we work together as a team. I've also learned that counselors are not support staff. They are leaders. They need to have a seat at the table. They need to be a part of the decision-making process. It is so incredibly important. I also know that because I have built relationships with my team and because that is the foundation, we have been able to do some pretty amazing things together. And so I just invite everyone here, when you invest in counseling systems, students will thrive. And thank you. Thank you.